What phone?
It's
is
the
it?
Galaxy S23 Ultra. Yeah.
Ultra. The Ultra.
Pretty
The S23
professional grade.
Ultra.
See how many lenses
For
it's
one
got,
of
dude?
my
It's
French,
got like
my French class,
five
like, we
lenses.
have to record ourselves, and like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'll listen to it, and I'm like, somebody sound like.
Yeah.
Si tu as besoin d'une partenaire avec qui je parle français, moi je parle français.
I heard parlez-vous français.
Si tu veux,
Si tu veux.
si tu veux,
Uh-huh.
définir. Non, si tu as besoin de, si
Okay.
tu as besoin de, if you are in need of,
I am.
une
Believe
personne,
me, I am
partner,
in need of.
Uh-huh.
avec qui, with whom, tu peux parler en français.
Oh my gosh. How did you
I'm,
learn?
I'm
I
definitely in
studied
need.
French from the age of 13 to the age of like 20,
Okay.
and then I was an exchange student for 6 weeks at one point in high school, and I just watched a lot of French movies
In France?
in America, but in
Okay.
general. But I did live in France for 6 weeks in high school,
Okay.
and then my exchange partner lived in my house for 6 weeks as well. So, but that's like the benefit of growing up on the East Coast, is that French is taught as a second language in like middle school and high school.
What part of the East Coast are you from?
From Connecticut,
Oh, Connecticut? Oh,
like New York City area.
yeah. Right on.
See, that's like another thing in Europe. I really want to move to Europe and like buy a ranch and live out there and like homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
Because like in Europe, it's like very common for them to teach them a second language, and
Right.
even more like because they're so close to many other places. Like here, I mean, I learned French from kinder to 6th grade, but as you can tell, none of that sticks. So, yeah.
I think just the general education out there is better.
Probably.
US education.
Yeah, maybe
It's
it
just
is.
different.
Or like the standard for it's a little higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that we grew up on the same block, and I think we all pretty much went to different schools.
Yeah,
All
which
four
is
of us went to
insane.
different schools.
Yeah.
We grew up on the same block.
None of us went to the same school.
Yeah.
I think just me and Fabia went to the same schools.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Fabi ended up going to McPherson, and then you all ended up going to the same high school,
Yeah.
except for me.
Where'd you go to high school?
From Medina.
Oh, well, that was there.
Were you?
Yeah. Then I
What
went
year
to
did you go?
Richmond.
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 Yeah, because I
Then I went to prison school.
Yeah, that was the first
Why did you go there, Nolan?
I was.
He wasn't
Nolan was
never a
actually
good student.
You were a
gang
baddie.
banger. Nolan was accepted
I could
into
see
the
that.
into the culture.
Didn't you go to Richland too?
I went to
You did, like, Saturday school.
continuation school it's very similar to
Orange,
Richland.
right?
Yeah, in Orangedale, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very similar to Richland, but it was more like on a semi schedule, which is basically like you go to class 3 times a week,
Okay.
and then you do your homework. You can do your homework at home,
Okay.
or you can do it there too. There's study halls.
Yeah.
But like the continuation school is a little bit different because you're in there, like your classroom is with people from all different, grades. So like I went when I was a sophomore, I was in a classroom with like seniors and freshmen and juniors. Like there was like all different people there,
Yeah.
and they're kind of all in there for different reasons. Like some of them are straight up like gang affiliated, and they like got expelled for whatever reason.
Okay.
Like they got into a fight, or they were caught like dealing drugs in school, or like whatever the case is, and they look the part, like they're like they're all from Orange. And then some girls, there was one girl who was literally about to pop, like she was pregnant and like about any minute like she was gonna go. And then there was another girl who had already had 2 kids when she was like 14 and 15 or whatever, so her kids were like, so okay, you've probably driven by my school a bunch, you didn't even know it. It's right there on Yorba.
Yeah, by the dog park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how there's like a little there's like a little slide.
Oh, I know.
That
They took
daycare.
that down, by the way.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tore it all down.
That daycare with all the children childcare, that's for teen pregnant moms.
Oh,
All those kids are for all those kids in childcare are kids of moms who are still in high school. You know, and so like I would be in school with them, and then there was actually 2 girls that I was with in school, and they were actually child actors, and they just couldn't do a regular high school schedule because they're actually going and like doing auditions, or they had like a regular part. Like I knew a girl who was on iCarly a bunch, and so I went to school with her. Yeah, and she like had a few speaking roles. She wasn't a main character, but she was like literally if you turn on
featured extra.
Yes, exactly. If you turn on an episode of iCarly, like you would see her in the episodes and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was on some other stuff too, but I think that was like her big one was iCarly, and then she did that spin-off show. I think it was called Sam and Cat.
What was her
Yeah.
name?
Huh?
What was her name? Do you?
Amy Duvall.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It didn't sound like
Exactly.
you.
Have you worked with her?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm still friends with her on Instagram and Facebook. I see she's still out there working. You know,
Yeah, she's
big
doing
got
shit.
big into the cosplay boom.
Yep.
Like when that was really huge, she got a lot of cosplay stuff going on. But anyway, so like the continuation school is like pretty much like a hodgepodge of people who were like either serious attention deficit issues like me, and also like I didn't leave St. John because I went to Lutheran school before. I didn't leave there on very good terms, as well.
Sit in, child.
Wait, whatever happened there?
Basically 2 things happened. 3 things happened. One, I was smoking weed. I started smoking weed and stuff, and so I was super lazy, and I wasn't doing any homework. Like not like I would turn in something late or whatever. Like I just didn't. I didn't do any homework.
Yeah.
I didn't do any homework. I turned nothing in. I never studied. When they would give me a test, I would just blindly blah 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 blah. I wouldn't even look at what the question was. I would just and so I was just failing all my classes because I literally was not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And so they were like, "Hey, They literally said to me, they're like, "Hey, you have to try really hard to actually to fail this hard." It's like, you have to like really go out of your way to like not care as much as you're not caring right now. And I was basically like, "Yeah, you're totally right. I don't care." And part of that was because I was also like not in a good not in my right mind. And then I hung out with a kid who actually did. I hung out with a kid who was a year older than me, Harrison. You met Harrison. Did you meet Harrison?
Maybe.
Yeah, you met Harrison too. I also was regularly hanging out with Harrison, who actually had gotten caught with weed at school and had been expelled, and they knew that he was like my best friend. They knew that I hung out with him all the time, so they couldn't prove that I was also on drugs, but they knew.
Yeah.
To the point where like the gym teacher would like he would see me hanging out with Harrison, and Harrison had already been expelled, and he would like have to shoot him off, like, "Hey, get out of here," you know. So yeah, basically that's what happened. And so like when I finished my 7th grade year, I couldn't come back. Is basically what happened. They let me finish the year, but then they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me come back for 8th grade.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Did
You making new friends?
You were doing that.
You making new friends?
You've been chosen. You were
been
blessed.
chosen.
You're blessed with the honor of first kisses.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, that's what happened there. But I also had like But I also had like a real attention deficit problem, and
Studying was tough for me.
studying was always really tough. So I didn't really do well in the classroom, like anyway. And then when you have like early onset like attention deficit issues, and you start using you start like smoking weed,
Yeah.
when you're so young, it has it's a pretty bad mix, yeah. So that's kind of what happened there, basically,
What happened out in Medina after that? I'm not even clear.
Oh yeah, then I actually, you guys don't know this, I actually did get cleared briefly to go to Elmo.
Oh shit.
And I was there for.
I remember when you were
Yes,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
was
could have
there.
all been there at the same
Yeah,
time.
well, we were briefly all there. Well, except for you, because you were a year younger than me. This is my freshman year, so you
Yeah.
weren't there. But I did go. I was at Elmo briefly, and basically the same thing happened, where I didn't really actually clean up my act, so nothing ever got better.
Yeah.
And so I was still basically failing and not doing well in class and still smoking weed. And this time around, they did actually catch me. And so because of my transcripts are already so bad, like normally, honestly, at Medina, and you guys probably don't know this, their test scores are kind of below the.
Oh yeah. No.
They're like pretty far below
Dog shit.
on the. They're dog shit, dude. They're actually the fucking worst.
They're so bad.
In the entire district, the entire city, like almost like bottom of the barrel. And so normally they would actually probably let me slide
Yeah.
since it was my first offense there, but because I came in with such shitty transcripts already, they basically, it was like a one strike you're out kind of thing. And so then I was gone. And then I could have gone to Richland, or I could have done independent studies. But they also, and I would have gone to Richland, but they had tested me. They had actually done a state mandated attention deficit disorder testing, and I had been officially diagnosed. And so because I had that diagnosed ADD on record, I qualified to go to independent studies. And so between independent studies in Richland, I went with, well, actually I had no choice, because I would have gone to Richland, because I was down to hang out with all the fucking, I was down to go over there, but my parents already saw the behavioral issues, and they were like, no, you're not going over there, you're gonna not make any more good friends or any good influences. So I actually had no choice in the matter. My dad was like, no, you're going to this continuation school where I can keep an eye on you, is really what it was. And that's how that happened. Yeah.
Do any of you guys share the same like gang fascination as Jeremy?
It's not a gang fascination.
No, that was him.
He has a lot of curiosity about gangs, about graffiti, about all of it.
It's fascinating life.
This is just him.
Well, I had
It's just
okay,
him.
but then also so there's that, but part of it is also because I moved here, and that really was like another level of like, because when I moved here, I was just telling Nolan earlier, like when I moved here, I moved down the block, and it was like that was a pretty eye-opening experience to live on Shalimar over there, and that was hanging out with those people, you know, it's kind of a different, kind of similar to like it's just kind of a different world. Like, you know, like you live in these old apartment buildings in these old places where there's like, you know, it's like the culture's just different, you know.
Yeah.
It's different than like growing up in like cul-de-sac, you know.
Yeah.
Like you're living with a bunch of kids, but like imagine if we were all
Using their imagination.
yeah, using their imaginations, and sometimes getting themselves into trouble. But you know, it's like a lot of kids. But the difference is instead of living in like a house like we grew up in, it's a lot of kids that are living like 5 people in a little tiny apartment. You know.
Yeah.
And so it's a different kind of thing. You know.
Yeah, it's like before I lived in the house that I'm currently at,
Mhm.
or that I've been at. For
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, my family lived in Anaheim, and it was kind of that situation. Where
Yeah.
It was like the kids would gather around the big green electrical
Yeah.
box thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And just like we'd hang out there, and then like, oh, it's dinner time. All right, let's all go
Right.
back home.
Right.
Dark.
Yeah, and it was kind of like that too growing up, where we would hang out till it got to be dark, and then, you know, but it's, you know, it's different. It's for kids.
Are you the second recipient of kisses?
She's chosen you next. Yes, many kisses, many kisses. So let me ask you this, Nolan. I'm sorry to circle back, and I'm going to circle back now on imagination.
Come full circle.
Yeah. When you say that you regret having used your imagination so much, are you saying that like you think that you could have spent that time in a different way,
Yeah.
like in a more positive way?
Yeah.
And what would you do?
It's,
I would have been more productive with my life.
Hmm.
yeah. I can see that point.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So what do you want to do with your life?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, now I have a better idea.
Okay.
I'm working towards a goal. I'm trying to stay more focused. But it's hard to stay focused in a world of distractions.
For damn sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially now. For
What
sure. Yeah.
is the biggest distraction?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Screen
All the
suckers. Generation of screen suckers.
It's also a generator of dopamine
Oh,
Yes.
that my ADHD dopamine starved brain desperately needs.
Yeah, I got rid of all my social media.
I noticed that. Yeah. You don't have an Instagram or anything?
Yeah.
No. Just the YouTubes.
Just the
Yeah.
YouTubes.
I used to have a.
But what's good about YouTube though is that YouTube can be informative.
Oh yeah.
Instagram, for example, not so much. And what are you going to learn from Instagram?
Depends on like who, because it's all algorithm based. So I guess it depends on your algorithm. Because like my algorithm's very like informative to the topics that I like in terms of like fitness and then like camera shit and like all that other stuff.
On Instagram?
Yeah, on Instagram.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
guitar stuff too.
Isn't that more for marketing?
Well, not
Promoting
necessarily,
yourself.
because it's not. Cause, I mean, yeah, people do that, but like I found that like sweet spot on my Instagram where, because like I don't like follow like models or anything like that. Like they're actual like coaches and like actual
Right.
physical therapists. So like I learned from that, and especially since my job requires me to be so like physically fit, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that stuff helps me out a lot. It's
Yeah.
very informative.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes I'll get the random like fitness model girl who's just showing off her ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at like,
Pretty much inescapable. I think,
Yeah, it's super
on
inescapable.
Instagram.
Yeah,
It's
it's super
kind of
You
like,
can't avoid
It's just
it.
because
Yeah.
it's so saturated.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Everyone
It's
and
pretty much
anyone
inescapable.
can have it.
Yeah, and especially if you actually like, I notice the Instagram models, basically models. They're look, all of them have OnlyFans. All of them basically are like generating leads from Instagram to cash
Yeah.
money on on OnlyFans. But like a lot, the quote unquote, we'll call them models. They are, because it's so saturated, and there's so many different like associated markets. Like let's say fitness.
yeah.
If you're into fitness and working out, you'll end up encountering these models. For me, I follow a lot of tattoo content. Dude, the tattoo content is completely saturated with the same kind of shit. You know?
Yeah. Oh,
So it's like there's all these different adjacent markets that, you know, basically they do become like, you know, like distractions. And also, even though because I agree, I find a lot of Instagram content really informative. It's none of it's long form. So like,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
YouTube is a long form platform.
Yes.
30-minute, 40-minute videos are super
That's why I
common.
like to utilize
You know, you can actually sink your teeth into a video on YouTube. Like, dude, Instagram videos, like,
30-second clips.
yeah, I mean, it's like a minute and a half is like a long video on
Yeah.
Instagram. You know, so there's that too. If you're like more into long form content,
Yeah.
I'm
YouTube.
on Instagram for the cows.
She loves cows.
For the
She
cows.
loves the cute
I
cows.
I made a collection that collaborated with Jeremy. That every time I see like a cute cow post, I just save it to the collection, and it automatically sends him a message.
Mhm.
Like,
I
'cause
see
it-
cows.
So he just gets spammed with cows all the
A
time.
lot of cow,
I can't wait to have a cow someday.
So many cows.
Do you post yourself on Instagram? Like you have your
My
own posts?
Instagram is private, so it's literally just
People you know.
yeah.
It's free, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I post myself,
Okay.
but my Instagram is private too.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, so it's only friends, family.
Do you have still that? You have a Cosmo page though, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's only I don't post myself.
Cause.
Right.
Yeah,
Cosmetology.
for cosmetology. So like I'll only post like work and stuff like that. But why? Why do you ask that?
Curious. make for a good discussion too for the
Yeah.
video.
He's like trying to cry for.
if you don't mind talking
No,
about
I don't mind talking
I'm
about
a
it.
content creator. I'm looking for content.
I know.
Yeah.
No.
My Instagram's public, but for a while there, I was pretty into like, I think for a long time because I was playing in bands and I was like
Yeah.
a musician. I was also kind of trying to market myself as a musician.
That makes sense.
And I was trying to market my bands too, and like whatever projects I was with. So, and a lot of the like followers that I gained are like very much just like around music. Like they're not. There's a lot of people I met and who I follow who follow me, and they kind of just. It's basically just music related,
Yeah.
you know. And then as I've gotten older, and I don't really, you know, I'm not trying to market myself so much as a musician or anything like that anymore. I could probably make the switch and make it private now if I wanted to, but
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is.
But if I may ask, what kind of messages do you get in your DMs? Do you get random people messaging you?
Not random people, I would say like old friends,
Okay.
like high school.
Not
friends.
random guys.
No, not random guys. I'll get like the random like requests from like a guy, but just like, hey, beautiful, and I'm like,
Yes,
really
yes.
So this is what no one's
creep, I don't
getting.
Yes,
know you.
this
This is what no one is
I mean,
getting.
it's the same thing for me, man. It's like I get so many random requests.
All these
Like,
women
Yeah.
flocking
You
to
do?
Donovan's
Yeah,
DMs.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of random requests, just like, but they're bots. They're not like actual.
Yeah.
Very rarely, very rarely is it like an
dude, I
actual
just got
person. I'm like, oh
real,
shit.
actual, real life women who are just
It's a
constantly
it's a
DMing
real
me.
woman. Oh my god, crazy.
Yeah.
Have you guys? Have you guys done online dating?
Yeah, no, I've been on.
Tried like once, and I was like, this shit sucks.
What app did you do?
I did like Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder, and like I maybe went on like 2 like dates,
Okay.
and like one of them I got dragged to like a gay bar, which is like really weird.
That's fun.
No, it was so fun. It was a blast.
Yeah,
I
it
had
was like
such a good time.
so fun.
Dude, it was awesome. Dude, legit, it was awesome. It was great. But yeah, it was just like, yeah, it was this girl, and like she was like, oh, you want to hang out with like my group of friends? And I was like, sure. And then it was like on this strip in LA that's like notorious for like just being gay bars. And I was like, this is.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right.
North Hollywood, probably.
In WeHo?
Yeah, I think it was
West
in
Hollywood.
Mio. Yeah, because I was in Van Nuys at the time, so yeah, it was like a 10-minute. Yeah. It was around there. But, yeah, it was fun.
For me though, with online with dating apps,
Yeah.
I feel that it's easier for me to express interest in someone through
Okay.
message
Right.
Yeah.
as
The
opposed to
barrier.
doing it in person.
The barrier is there really isn't much of a barrier, right? You just
Yeah.
send the message.
Yeah.
Whereas like in person,
If you get
or is she
rejected,
with
it's-
friends? Is the music really loud? Is she coming off like unapproachable? There's like in a human interactions, there's a lot of like weird barriers to entry for. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people are attracted to dating apps. It's just
Yeah.
For that
That's
exact
why
reason.
I don't like.
I mean, I prefer to meet people in person, but I mean, if I get rejected, it's less awkward over text
Yeah.
with someone that
Right.
I've never, I'm not,
Yeah.
as opposed to in
Do
person.
you know what RSD is?
No,
Rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
that's what I have.
Here's a diagnosis.
I don't take rejection very
It's a very common sub-feature of ADHD.
Okay.
Most people with ADD or ADHD have this like dysphoric and overly sensitive reaction to rejection.
I do have
That
ADD.
can lead to like paralysis in making decisions. It can lead to social anxiety. It can lead to like not going for a promotion, not changing careers, not like fear of change. Like it's any kind of rejection, and it can lead to people just like kind of hunkering down and staying in their comfort zone. like with padded walls and insulation, you know. And I think I listened to this great. Was it a podcast or was it just an Instagram video? You know, I don't know. I do most of my scrolling.
Could have been.
I do most of my
Instagram
scrolling when I'm
video.
falling asleep and all is a blur.
It could have been an Instagram video of a podcast.
It could be.
Yeah.
Because that's the
That's
big
really-
thing.
that's
is
really
they
common
take
too.
clips of podcast. Yeah.
But this girl basically talked about how she had this overwhelming fear of rejection. And so she basically spent a year, like, doing exposure therapy with rejection where she would just apply to anything. She would apply to, like, all these jobs that she was wildly overqualified for. She'd ask out, blah, blah, blah. Like, she just, like, she, like, did the opposite. Like, almost, like, overcompensated for her fear of rejection and put herself in basically a lot of, like, socially and professionally risky situations. But she was like, this worked out, this worked out, this worked out, this worked out. And she actually overcame her fear of rejection because the more risks she took, like, the more she risked rejection and then was rewarded for it, or rewarded for the risk, the more she was, like, hungry to, like, just overcome that fear.
But I feel as though females don't get rejected.
They do. We do.
Definitely do.
Yeah. We
Definitely
get
do.
rejected.
You've been rejected before?
Yes. I've been rejected before. It happens to everyone.
You want to share an experience with us?
I mean,
Oh gosh, here we go.
Oh,
Here we
He
go.
says,
I'm seeking
okay.
content.
He says,
not like.
prove it.
Yeah.
Oh, you've been
Back it
rejected?
up.
Why don't you tell me about that?
Prove it.
I've been like.
Is
Burn
it-
your arm. Holy shit. A flame was leaking. Dude.
So like I feel like I've been rejected not so much as in like sexual situations, just kind of like moving past sexual situations. So like,
Like when you want to make the jump to
When-
something more serious.
yes,
Mhm.
like when it's kind of like okay, like we've been going on dates, like we've been hanging out, blah blah blah. Like what is this type of thing? Like when I have that conversation, that's when guys get kind of like, oh well, you
Yeah.
know, like I'm having fun, but like I don't really want to get into something serious right now. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm a serious type of girl, so
Right.
That's right.
yeah, so like it's kind of like, so then what? And then they'll hit me with the, so like the last guy that I told him that, he was kind of like, well, like you're just a different type of girl, and I don't feel like I like make enough money, and so I can't provide for you, and like I want to give you more, and like you deserve more. And I'm like, okay, well then what are you doing wasting my time? Like,
And also,
it's-
you probably didn't even ask him.
and
for
I
all that.
didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
No, like I never ever like I never expect a guy to like pay for me or like provide for me. Like
Right.
that's what I'm going to school for. That's
Right,
what
right.
I'm getting my career for. Like I can provide for myself.
Mhm.
I just want someone that's gonna have my back, that's gonna be my partner in crime. Like that's all I'm asking for. So like, yeah, I've been rejected in the sense that like I want something more, and they're kind of like more of like a fling type of thing.
Right. Which that sucks in its own way.
It does.
Because then you know, because then what's the implication is that like
They kind of just see me as like a hookup.
more of a one-dimensional sort of relationship
Yeah.
that's not like based on anything that's like really tangible.
Yeah, they see a girl and they're like, ooh, pretty. And
Right.
But that's
No.
it. So.
That makes sense.
Yes, we do get rejected.
You know what? This is
This is like the third Incubus song that's
you know
played in
what?
a row.
It's
and I'm
it's a playlist, and
the
way-
way the songs that have played have all been off the same album. I'm like, dude,
yeah. There is a few. This is not on shuffle, so it's got other. I'm gonna put it on shuffle. Sorry.
I mean, I'm cool. I love
I
it.
mean, I love Incubus. It's just that when I make playlists, I make them knowing I'm gonna shuffle them. So like, when I put the Incubus on, I put like 6 Incubus songs in a row.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be shuffled, so they're gonna get mixed in. But they were not shuffled. So, God be judged.
So you're having a hard time finding someone who wants to treat you seriously.
So, but I think right
And that's
now.
probably that might be more common that might be more common for women.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that kind of rejection versus what you're talking about?
Good point.
Yeah. What's your kind of rejection?
My kind of rejection. Just giving it best.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah. The girl doesn't want to give me a chance.
Yeah,
Just to prove myself to begin with.
Right. And that's frustrating because I think
Yeah.
more men deal with that kind of rejection.
Yeah.
I've definitely dealt with that, and I'm sure Donovan has too. Where you're like, oh, that's frustrating because you're like, you don't even know me. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't even know me. What if I have a really cool job, or what if I can be? What if I could be a really good provider, or what if I have all this potential, and then you don't even give me the time of day? That's frustrating.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
that.
And, well, I'm gonna contrast that with the way that Jeremy and I met, which was at the Wayfair next door.
I told them all
Oh,
that.
you already
You need
told
to
it?
take me there. I need to meet my Sarah.
But
We'll go.
basically, I had just gone through a massive breakup. I had just blocked my ex like 5 weeks prior, and like the day in question that I went to the Wayfair was like the first like really good day that I had. Like, you know when you're just like after a bad relationship, you're like yourself again, like you like feel like yourself again. I had one of those days. Like I went to someone really important in my recovery community had this like massive 70th birthday party where like we're all like sober musicians, and we're part of like this sober musician community. And so it was just like a day of like all these bands and like all these people that I've known for the last like 9 years, and this community that like really carried me, and so it was so good to be around them. There was also a saltwater pool. In addition to all this, I was like lounging in the pool, I was being in community,
Yeah.
and then I got out of the pool, I did my hair and my makeup, and I was like, okay, like I'm ready to go out. And I was like, I said to my friends, like, oh, do you guys want to go catch a show at the Wayfair? And there was a band playing that I like, and they were like, oh no, we've got to go record, blah blah blah. They have a music studio like 2 blocks from here.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'll just go by myself. I texted a friend. I was like, maybe he'll need me later. Like, I walk up to the bar. I order my little sober bar drink. And I don't know if this is true for you. It is for me sometimes. But like when I go out by myself, I just like don't talk to men. Like
Yeah.
I just literally I don't want anything to do with a man in that moment. I'm just like trying to like.
Because you don't want them trying to hit on you.
Yeah, I don't want. It's a safety thing for me. I think. Like I just like I have to like scope out the scene. I have to know the vibe. It's more comfortable for to have a friend there to like look
Yeah.
out for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's just but when I'm alone, my guard is up. You
Yeah.
know. So I go up to the bar, and I order my drink, and I don't see Jeremy at first, but his friend Winter is there, and Winter turns to me and was like, "Oh, what show are you here to see?" And I had like maybe like a 2-sentence conversation with him, got my drink, see ya, and went out to the patio. Hi, baby. To like roll a cigarette and just like check the feel the vibe. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna stay.
Yeah.
And so then it's a crowded patio. I have like a table, and Jeremy and Winter come out. I see them in the door, and the patio is packed. I'm the only open table with like standing room by it. So they come up to me and they're like, "Can you share my table?" And I was like, "Okay, fine." You know, fine. Winter and I continue our conversation. I mentioned that I'm a musician. He was like, "Oh, you've got to talk to my buddy Jeremy, musician." And then Jeremy and I started talking, and like just talked like 45 minutes. Missed like an entire set of one of the bands, and just like it was just like a really instant like chemistry connection.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting food with them after, but then Winter gave me a bad vibe, and so
He is not a socially adept person.
Okay.
I don't want to besmirch him. It was the vibes were off, but I really had a lot of chemistry with Jeremy, and one of the things that we bonded over immediately was that I'm like an unapologetic Jar Jar Binks stan. I
Oh,
love
she loves Jar Jar Binks, dude.
Okay.
I love
She
Jar
loves
Jar
Jar Jar Binks.
I love
I
him.
thought that was
I've
so
never-
wild.
I've never met anyone that's been a
You're
Jar
right.
Jar Binks stan.
Yes,
I love
me too.
him.
Me too. That's a huge thing.
I love him. Look, we were all little kids watching this movie, right? And then also my dad works for Avid, and one of his friends
at this picture.
Oh my gosh. I know. She has like that when she gives you those eyes, she's begging.
Yeah, man. I do. You want a smaller one or you want another full size?
I'll take a full size.
All right.
Thank you.
Do you want to finish this one?
I'll finish that one.
Yeah. Okay.
How you feeling, man? You want anything else?
Oh, I'm chilling.
I'm more of a weed girl.
Yeah. Well, since I can't be a weed girl, I
It's okay.
do this.
It's like more like every once in a while.
Yeah.
So. Plus, weed in France is illegal. So I'll have to go to Amsterdam.
You gotta start smoking cigarettes, man. Whenever I work with so there's this French like I guess fashion company that I'll do stuff for every now and then called Amiri, and like
I've heard of them.
dude, yeah,
Yeah.
like everyone just they literally have cigarettes where you get like your snacks and stuff, just boxes of cigarettes. You just take one, just everyone smokes on break, everyone smokes like just smoking constantly.
Thank you, my good sir.
Insane.
Yeah, man. There are
Okay.
many types. There's
I want to
this
hear
one's
it. I
lighter.
want to share you this
Oh,
story.
okay.
More
Well,
mellow.
Jar Jar Binks' side
This one-
tangent is my dad.
I think the rest
You know,
of
has
these
worked
are a
in the
little bit heavier.
entertainment
This one's
tech
heaviest.
industry for a long time.
This one's kind
And
of
so
these two are
his
sort of
friend was like one of
Yeah.
the original animators.
Yeah, yeah, good for
Oh, shit,
at
that's
least
cool.
for Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
And so, like that, my dad was one of those guys who we had to watch the credits of every movie because we could see if his friends were in the credits.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure it's probably similar for you.
Yeah, it's
So, there was like one, I was a little kid and I just thought he was so funny as a little kid and goofy, and I had all the toys. And it was also like that
Okay.
personal connection, like, oh, my dad's friend made that, you know? So I just, as a little kid, loved him. And it wasn't until I was an adult later that I found out that everyone hated him. And everyone's hate for him only made me love him more. Because,
Spite.
yeah, well, no, not even, he's the underdog. George Lucas called him the soul of,
Oh, yeah.
of that movie, you know? And I, as a little kid, I saw that, you know? So we bonded over that.
Mhm.
The second thing we
And-
bonded over.
Oh, sorry. Let me just throw my 2 cents in here
Mhm.
about Jar Jar before we move on from Jar Jar. I felt the same way about Jar Jar growing up. That there was nothing wrong with him
Yeah, same.
because, and this is a good point about George. I call him George.
Yeah.
I think the real Star Wars fans just call him
We're
George.
on a first name basis.
Yeah.
Right?
I think George completely understood that Jar Jar's for the kids, and these people who have been hardcore Star Wars fans since the 70s, they probably are not gonna fuck with Jar Jar. They're
Yeah.
probably
Oh,
not gonna
yeah.
like Jar Jar. And he's like, I didn't make Jar Jar for them. I made Jar Jar for the little kids who are just getting into Star Wars, who are going to think he's funny. And so I really liked that when she said that, because I thought, you know what? It's true. Jar Jar's not for everyone. He's
Jar Jar is not.
Jar Jar's not for everyone, but to the target demographic,
I claim him.
he did what he was supposed to do for Star Wars, and he helped get the little kids into Star Wars. You know, so that's just good. Anyway, so continue now.
The second thing that we bonded over was I was trying to explain to him what a queer coded movie was.
I still probably Donovan
Like
probably
that
Donovan
one,
knows what
okay.
that is.
Oh yeah, no, I
Because
totally know
Donovan
what
works in the
queer
film
code-
industry,
yeah,
so he
I
probably
totally know
understands.
what
But I could not wrap my mind around it at all.
And, okay, and so, you know, I took film classes in college and blah blah blah. I have a lot of knowledge about queer cinema, and he was like, "Well, give me an example of a movie." And my mind went
Sure.
blank, and the first movie that I could think of to say was Face Off.
Oh, totally.
Thank you.
It's totally a queer coded movie.
Like
man.
enemies to lovers, like
You
the
mean the lighter?
hatred, the self-obsession, the like I want to wear your skin
Yeah.
feeling.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh dude, totally. So many gay undertones. Great.
He said great.
So after we ditched Winter, I invited her over to watch the movie. Yeah. But like in the context of this larger discussion, like that connection was just kind of like random, and I think organic connection is definitely a factor. Like a lot of people that you meet, like if they don't like your vibe, they're probably not for you in general, you know?
That's what I
Like-
was gonna tell you. Is that when you get rejected, I don't know, maybe
forgot
you
what the
think about
topic
it
was.
as like a rejection, but how Sarah was saying, they're not for you. They're not
friend Camilla says that rejection is a form of God's protection.
Yeah. It took me a long time to really because I would be really upset after people why don't these guys want to be in relationships? Like, what am I doing? But it's not that. It's just
not you.
that. It's just I'm a really big believer now that continuing on my path and doing things that make me happy and just like I'm doing nursing right now. I'm going to Paris next week for 3 months. Like, just keep doing that.
You're focused on
and
yourself.
The right people are gonna fall into my life. Like, I'm not really big on finding my person or the person that I want to share my life with, because I am really I'm a big believer in traditional marriage, and I really want to my parents have been married for almost 35 years, so I want that too. And, so I think for a long time I felt that pressure to find someone, or oh my gosh, I'm almost 27, I'm not dating anyone. But now I don't feel that pressure anymore. Now I'm just okay, well, I'm living my life. The right person's gonna come along for me.
That's always been true for me too. I'm not a pseudo monogamist, but I have pretty much spent. I've been in 4 relationships in the last since I was 18, and those relationships lasted between 2 and 4 years each of them, and then in between them was 1 to 2 years where I was just single. And not even single and trying to meet people, but just literally no interest in dating at all, because I was just focusing on doing the repair work and charting the course for where I wanted to be next. And actually, I made the mistake when I got out of a 4-year relationship. I made the mistake of trying to move on too quickly, because I ended up in this rebound from hell that lasted for 2 years.
We've been there.
I'm serious.
We've all been there.
It was so dark. It was literally and if I had just stayed single, I think I would have been better off. But if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have met Jeremy when I did, because like I said, he broke up with me on my birthday, and
Shit.
yeah. And
Wow.
after I had it was a whole thing. I'm not even gonna get into it, but then I finally blocked him 2 months later, and I just yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it was the first time that I felt like myself again. And actually, after meeting Jeremy that night, we actually mutually ghosted each other for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, okay, so not right after we met, but there was a small period of time where we met, we were hanging out.
We had
and
2 dates. And
yeah, and then I've just always been really bad about texting anyone back.
Yep.
And this is something that anyone who's been my friend knows. And so and then I think that kind of became a sort of a ghosting situation where then she ghosted me because I didn't hear from her for a little while.
He was involved in a messy thing that I was I didn't want.
Daniela knows all about that.
You do?
I didn't like her.
Oh, thank God. Thank God, because she invited us to her wedding.
I told Daniela.
How unhinged is that?
Wow. Yeah.
She was wild. She was something.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if did I ever tell you guys about this girl that
He would
No.
call me and he'd be run. Run as fast as you can.
Yeah, I heard the story about this lady.
Yeah.
This lady.
Well,
She will go unnamed, but
yeah. Well, it's essentially. Yeah, it's good that we're talking about rejection, because this is actually really good. Because rejection can, if you let it, this is what I learned, can really fester and be prolonged. You can have a prolonged period of rejection where if someone's inside of your circle of friends, where you see them all the time because they're friends with your friends or whatever, like this in this situation with this woman. Yeah, it was really bad. Where I was she basically just led me along. What's the word? Led me on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She basically just led me along really bad, where we would hang out and she would give me a lot of the signs, she's really interested, and we would hang out one-on-one a lot. We would hang out at my place. We would go out and do stuff like the kind of stuff that you do when you're trying to get closer to someone, when you're like interested in someone, but she wasn't. And I just, it was like a total mind fuck for me, and I could not get my head past it for a long time. And actually, right before I met Sarah, it had gotten so bad that, because we were close, we were friends, and we were close, we talked all the time, whatever. She's from Washington. It had gotten so bad that she had like, and she's a singer, she had like a little week-long thing that she was doing out with her church where she was playing like a week-long like camp basically, and she needed a band, and invited me to go out to Washington to hang out and be out there for a week playing in her band with her for this like church camp thing, and I did it like a fucking idiot. Like a super stupid idiot. I went out there.
I wouldn't say that because
Yeah.
you didn't have all the context. Like,
And I didn't have all the context. I went out there, and to be fair, the trip in and of itself was actually really fun.
Yeah.
And I met her brother. Her brother's really cool. I still love her brother, Cam, person. He was really cool. We really clicked. But basically, when I was out there, there was this other dude that was hanging out with us sometimes, and I was kind